Hey, what's up YouTube? Back with another World of Tanks review. As you guys see, this is going to be on the Tier 7 Chinese premium tank, the Type 62. Now, as we basically make our way into the 2-year anniversary special, which is the weekend, obviously, of April, 12th. As you guys see, it's got a nice garage here that Wargaming has done server-side, so you don't need to install mods or anything for that. It's just a lot of going on, it's just a pretty nice background with the, you got a plane flying. It says 2 years. You got a little band shell, all that good stuff. So as you guys know, there's going to be lots of stuff like whatnot, just ×5 experience, half off equipment, stuff like that. So as I make this video, I'm just going to go over that, and also the Type 62 and the KV5. This other Tier 8 Premium Russian Heavy, being the KV5, is going to also be in the gift shop along with the Type 62. And now, this may be the last time you can ever get these tanks, so if you guys watch this review and you like the Type 62, and I will also have a review up with the KV5 and have that in description at the end of the video. If you guys want to watch that too, and you guys like both of the tanks, I would recommend, just before I even go in with a review, that you get them. Whether it purpose be just for XP, just because you think it's a good tank, you just want it because it's going to be a limited edition, or whether, you want to use it for crew training, whatever your cause may be. I just want to go ahead and say that I recommend both of these tanks. And now, without further ado, we're going to get into the gameplay and further in-depth review of the Type 62. Alright guys, before I even start this main review, I'm just going to go ahead and say, if you played this tank that I have open right now, the WZ-131, you have played the Type 62, because in reality, they are the same exact tank. Only thing that's different is basically my Type 62 has camo, my WZ-131 does not. Placement of the symbols and the emblem, and basically the gun. That's basically the only difference. So as I'm going to be comparing these two tanks, I'll show you just like that. The game model does not change besides the paint job and the gun. So if that's one recommendation I'm going to go ahead and say before I get in depth, is that if you guys are on the Chinese line, and obviously you're going to use the Type 62 for crew training and everything with these lights, if you have played the WZ-131, you will basically get a precursor to what to expect on the Type 62. Alright, so the Type 62, being a Tier 7 Chinese light tank, is basically the way you play it. It has a very unique scout role, as you can play it as an active scout, which is what I do. I like to, sweep around, spot stuff. It's got a decent view range, not the best as a scout, but it's good. Like the spot stuff, just come around, sweep up the heavies, kill wounded targets, lots of mediums, all that good stuff. Get to a choke point, try and hold that down. Do as much side shots as I can, try and get behind targets, basically, just what you do as an active scout. Now, this tank being on the little bit of a bigger side of scouts, as you see, it's not like any of the AMX 13 series or any AMX in general that's a scout, or even the Chaffee or the VK or anything like that. It's low profile, but it's got a big hole for a scout, being a Tier 7. So that's one downside. As passive scouting goes, it can passive scout. Many people like to choose to do that. They'll get all the camo crew skills, and they'll also put a camouflage net on and get some binocs and stuff like that, or coated optics. But I choose basically to play it as an active scout, as that's just my preference. So basically, as playstyles go, active scout or passive scout, doesn't really matter. Does both very well, and that's how you play this tank. Alright, so as the modules go, you guys obviously know scouts in general have no armor whatsoever. You are not going to be bouncing anything with this tank. If you do, it's going to be pretty much a miracle, because that never happens, especially if you get it in a good time, or time the bounce well, or you just happen to get lucky. That's just, pray to the Lord. That never happens. But hey, if you get that slight chance, be grateful. It's a rare experience. So I'll go over the armor. Just 35 in the front, that being the upper hole here, which basically anything other, even fucking Tier 1s can pen you. 20 on the side, tracks will not eat anything, and the back is 20. Now, as Chinese tanks go, you guys know they have very poor ammo racks, as they get ammo racked a lot, especially the Type 59, which is the other Chinese premium tank available on the North American and EU server, as those have very weak ammo racks being in here, also in the side of the turret. They basically they have no hit points, as modules do have hit points, regen hit points, all that stuff. They can get ammo racked very easily. So I'll get into that later with what I like to run on here. As I said, I like the active scout. I'll get into that later. But as modules go, it has the Type 62, as opposed to the WZ-131, has 150 less signal range, which as a tier 7 scout, as a tier 9 radio, that's sufficient enough, especially if you're playing this as a premium tank. That is very good for a scout. View range 390, that's good. That's better than T50-2, better than the VK2801, so that's doable. Turret traverse speed is very good, very well. Degrees per second, which is 48 degrees per second. Rate of fire, very nice, 10.53. With event rammer, and even without Brothers in Arms, you get, I think, a 4.86 second reload, which I'll go over the gun in a little bit, which normally gets a high 100 to low 200 damage rolls, stuff like that. Penetration, adequate for a tier 7 premium, 109 to 181 with standard shells. Now, standard damage, like I said, mid 100s to actually low 200s, 135 to 225 standard shell damage with normal AP rounds and also the heat gold rounds. Obviously HE is going to be more, but that has hardly any penetration. Traverse speed is, I believe, one of the best in the game, if not the best in the game, which is 54 degrees per second. This thing can turn on a dime. It also drifts a little bit if you cut the wheel too fast and turn too fast, because it has that capability of turning so fast. Speed limit, as I said before, passive scout or active scout, which is how I go, but you cannot just charge the enemy base like a T50-2 can, like a VK2801 can, once it's up the top speed, spot they're already right away. You cannot do that with a 60 km/h speed limit on a flat, as this thing, also with its big body, like I said before, is going to get owned if you do that. So that's basically, it's really fast on a flat, turns well, like I said, but you just can't charge into the enemy base and do a suicide scout run. Now, as the engine power goes, compared to the WZ-131, it is 90 less, but that just takes a toll on its acceleration, as its acceleration is great. I mean, especially with 100% crew with a couple skills, your acceleration is really good. It's just on the WZ-131 is that much better. Now, as weight load goes, you can mount anything on it, as it's a premium and only has one suspension. Now, hit points, that's actually pretty good for tier 7 scout, 880, as you can survive multiple shots from tier 10 heavies if you get into a tier 10 game. As the matchmaking goes, it is ranked as a tier 7.5, where it'll get tier 8 and 9 games, possibly 10, and eventually, actually every once in a while, you can get top tier, but that's if they have lots of artillery and you are basically the top tank. But that rarely happens. I've had that like 2 or 3 times, but that's about it, and probably like the 400 games I've played in this tank. Now, so that's basically just the tank, get the gist of it, and I'll go over what to run, crew skills, and gun compared to WZ-131. Alright guys, so as the Type 62's gun goes, I'll pull that up right now. It is basically the same exact third gun as the WZ-131, as this gun is the same exact thing. It has the same exact stats as the WZ-131's third gun, fourth gun rather, out of 5. As the WZ-131, you get that choice between the 100, which is more of a medium gun with hardly any damage per minute but high alpha, or you get the top 85, which I'll pull up right here. Is basically the gun I used on the WZ-131, as it has a little bit more penetration than Type 62 and 20 damage on average with RNG rolls, and 0.01 more accurate at 100 meters. Now, I'll close that out and just compare the two guns that the Type and the WZ-131 has when it's at its mid-gun. So the Type mid-gun and the WZ-131 mid-gun are exactly the same. So Type 62's gun and the other 85 on this WZ-131, their stats are exactly the same. So as you see, it's got a 10.53 rate of fire, 145 pen with AP rounds, 250 with heat, 43 with HE, 180, 300 average damage rolls, and 0.37 accuracy at 100 meters, and a 2.3 second aim time. And even the weight's the same, so basically The Type 62's gun is a watered down version of the 131. Still is sufficient for a Tier 7 premium, but just for the most part, WZ obviously being the Tier 7 counterpart that's not premium, it's going to get that better gun, especially with the better penetration and 20 more average damage. That's how it basically gets that little buff. But like I said before, as a whole, if you played the WZ-131, you have played the Type 62. They play exactly the same. Even, like I said, the hull, even the turret, nothing in the game models are different except for the gun. So that's basically the gun and how that works with the Type compared to the WZ-131. And yeah, the only, like I said before, the only differences are the signal range and the engine, as Type 62 has 90 less horsepower than the WZ-131, and that only affects your acceleration, and it's still an amazing acceleration. So yeah, that's basically just the modules and how they go. Next up will be what to run on it, what shells I use, all the values on that, consumables, and crew skills. Alright guys, so as crew skills go, as you see here, I have my Type 62 crew trained for the WZ-132, which is the Tier 8 Chinese Light, which I am at right now. Basically on that line, working down to get that WZ-121 rather. And yeah, so the Type 62, like I said, is trained to this Tier 8 light tank. That it basically, as the Type 62 as a crew trainer, has the same exact crew slots for every single Chinese tank except for, I believe, the M5A1 Stuart. Nope, not that. I believe it's the Chi-Ha. Yeah, Chi-Ha and the NC-31, which only has 2. So basically every Chinese tank except for a couple of them have 4 crew members, all the same: commander, gunner, driver, loader, and at least one of them acts as the radio operator, which varies by tank, but that doesn't matter, especially at the lights, they're all the same. So for as crew training goes, Type 62 trains well for all lights, obviously. Type 59 trains well for all mediums, and there's not a heavy yet on the EU, NA, or RU server to train them. But like I said, Type 62 trains these 2 tanks perfectly, WZ-131 and WZ-132, as they will be basically the tanks that you're going to grind through for the chunk of your line. So what I like to run in the crew skills specifically for the Type 62 slash WZs, I'll pull it up right now. As you guys see, loader, I find, like I said before, Chinese tanks have a very weak ammo rack. Same with their fuel tanks. They catch on fire easily if their fuel tanks are hurt, but I don't really care about the fuel tanks, as there's not really any skills besides firefighting to help that, but I don't even use that for the crew skills. Besides, like, I won't put that on everyone. I'll just put it whenever I have an extra slot, like I did here. So loader, as I said, I get safe stowage. You might want to do repairs or view range or something like that before you get to 100%, and then retrain to get safe stowage, which is once you're at 100%, because this is a perk. It only is useful when you get to 100. So I basically suggest getting repairs and then retrain to safe stowage. And on my second skill, I put firefighting, which you guys could also use repairs or camouflage if you're going to passive scout or anything like that. But as I said before, I use this as an active scout. Now, as the driver goes, just the basic, you know, get the clutch braking first, then off-road driving, or off-road driving, then clutch braking. It's preference, doesn't matter. Everyone knows about driver skills. They're, in my opinion, the best out of any crew member. You could do smooth ride, you know, dead-eye, all that good stuff. So next, as the gunner goes, I used designated target. As I'm a scout, I like to keep things spotted for 2 more seconds if I can just get a side shot on them or shoot them as they go unspotted. Now next, I got snapshot, which increases turret accuracy while the turret is moving, and that's great as a scout when you're shooting on the move and all that good stuff. Next, I'm probably going to get dead-eye, as that increases module damage. But, you know, designated target, snapshot, dead-eye, your choice. Doesn't really matter. It's all preference. And for the commander, like I said before, the perk Sixth Sense comes in 100%. So what I did was I used the view range, which is situational awareness. View range, which is situational awareness. Got that to 100%, retrained for Sixth Sense, and now have it at 80%. So that's what I use for crew skills. That's basically the gist of that. You guys can vary that with whatever crew skills you want, but that's what I suggest personally. So next, which is going to be what I like to run on it. As you guys see, I only have a vent right now, as I put the other two things, the wet ammo rack and the rammer, on the 131. Which, on the Type 62 or WZ-131, they have such a short reload that you don't need to run a wet ammo rack. If your ammo rack gets damaged, it doesn't really matter. I chose to put that on the WZ-132 because that is a longer reload, and I use this more of an active scout too. However, for the wet ammo rack, you can choose a vert stab, GLD, coated optics, anything basically, except for spall liner or like CO2 toolbox. You don't really need those. So as Type 62 goes, I use a rammer, which I obviously don't have it bought right now, but I'll buy it eventually. I use a medium caliber tank gun rammer. I use the improved ventilation class 1, and also I'm going to put a vertical stabilizer on or a wet ammo rack, depending on what I choose later on. So, yep, that's the equipment I like to use as shells go. I just like to use, all standard AP shells and then 2 for resetting. Depending on whether I get credits, right now I'm really low on credits. As you guys see, I only have 211,000 roughly. I usually, on the 131, I run 12 gold rounds, 30 AP, and 5 to reset, which are HE shells. But right now, on the Type, as I don't have any credits whatsoever really, I'm just going to run all AP and 2 HE shells. Now, the price of the gold shells is actually relatively low, especially for a scout. 2,800 per shell. That's pretty cheap for a gold shell. Definitely going to stock up on that during this two-year special. So, and next, consumables, just standard, small repair kit, first aid kit, manual fire extinguisher. I used to run quality oil instead of the fire extinguisher, but I find that the CO2 in the fuel tanks just sucks on these tanks. So all the Chinese tanks, I like to run extinguishers now because they catch on fire very easily, in my opinion. Many people may argue that, but I just find that if you're shot in the side, your fuel tanks go. If you get shot again, you're on fire. But most people argue that, oh, you're not going to have enough HP, but yeah, say you're getting shot by another scout, you're kind of screwed. So that's basically just the gist of everything in the Type 62, and I guess we'll go on with the gameplay, so stay tuned, guys.
This is going to be the gameplay for today, as the Type 62 goes. Now, this specific game is on Fjords, however you want to pronounce that. I don't know whether it's Fjords, whatever. As you guys see, I'm in a Tier 9 match with a pretty good team. I think we had like a 60% chance to win, which is actually pretty good, as opposed to, like the normal like 45% chance to wins that you get according to XVM. And as you see, one of our M103s, he's from the G clan, and they're pretty much the best stat-wise clan in all of the North American server. So as you guys know, I already explained how I like to play this tank as an active scout, and rather more aggressively, but also being the person who just sweeps up and gets all the finishing off kills, just tries to get side shots, all that type of stuff. So as you see, I get spotted right away by the 1390 as I try to, just keep him scouted and get to a safe position as my teammates just blow him out of the face of the earth. I get one shot at him here, as you see, and then he ends up repairing his track and just moving backwards as I am about to shoot him again, but he just goes and gets in cover. Now right here, I think I spotted a couple more people in a second. Try to just stay safe, reset my camo, because they obviously have artillery, but, spot an IS-3 and a Type 62. Try and see if they have any shots or anything. I take a pot shot at the Type 62. I think I end up missing. Goes right over his turret. So they end up backing up. Our south side is pretty much pushing them. They have like a T-30 and a couple other heavies down there, but they end up getting just blown away. So I move up, just try and speed this up a little bit. Review's getting very long. So as I come around this corner, there's going to be, I'm going to spot like all three tanks again. There's the Type 62. We shoot each other, which is pretty funny. I get a pretty good roll on him, 183, that's normal. As the T-20 and also two more heavies get spotted. I think there's an IS-3 hiding behind that Conqueror. Now, he misses, I end up bouncing him, but E-75 finishes off that Type 62. Which, yep, they're the two heavies, the IS-3 and the Conqueror. I just, oh, wow, he got ammo racked. Okay, so, I just aim, just try and I really at this point don't want to be staying with the heavy pack, as I am not nearly a heavy. So I just take a little quick shot, get no damage pen on the Conqueror. And the IS-3 is kind of like, oh, no, he was a good sport about it. He's like, nice shot, because he got ammo racked. And I just draw fire from that T20. He misses, get another shot on him, someone finishes him off. And I just trying to, just peek and shoot this Conqueror as I try and move behind. I get shot by him, obviously, but try to get behind the T20, give me some cover, just get another shot at him. And as you guys see, this is basically just a steamroll. Great team, like I said, 65% chance to win. This basically just showcases how the Type 62 works well with another team. And it's a great scout. I love it. I mean, it's all around. In other words, like it's not T50-2 where you just charge the enemy base, kill the arty right away, and it's not like a passive scout, full passive scout like the Chaffee where you can just stay there and have an intense view range. This thing's good at passive scouting, but it's not like outrageously amazing. As you see, I try and track this AT-7 so he can't get a shot at me because I don't want to lose any more health, and I just shoot him right in the big commander's cupola, as that's basically where their weak spot goes. And now I'm trying to spot Artie, as there's the AMX, but he's looking at me. I'm just don't want to get shot because you can one-shot me, obviously. Probably catch on fire or something like that. Because I find that this tank, its fuel tanks get hurt a lot, and that causes it to catch on fire if you get shot again. So that's just one thing. And he gets counterbatted. I'm like, lol. How did someone hit him while he was in the water? He tried to drown himself. And the M12 does the same in a little bit. And it's got a nice slide there down that hill. So M12 goes unspotted. I spot him right back again. As you see, I'm like, lol. And he is aiming at me. I'm kind of like, I don't know, being a little not aggressive. I try and hit him. I don't want to hit him with the gun, so I hit him in that little hitbox next to him. And then he just falls into the water, and I end up just shooting him when he's down there. And that's pretty funny. M103 gets killed, and the VK gets spotted up around like B8, as you guys can see. That's where he was last spotted, around like here. So yeah, we end up just capping it out. Pretty good game. I'll have the after battle report. I do 1,381 damage. It's pretty good, especially for a scout. I think I only get like an average of like 600 damage per game on this tank, but it's a little bit above average. I think average is like 450, and I do well in this tank. I love it so much. I mean, obviously the crew training's well. It's a great overall fun tank to play. So I really suggest that you guys get it in these last few days of the sale. It might be the last time it's back. They'll probably bring it out for another special sometime in the future, but that's going to be a while, so I totally suggest you guys get this tank, and I'll be back with the after battle report. Alright guys, so as you see, it's pretty much a steamroll. We ended up only losing one guy. Got 1,629 experience and 73,000 about credits after the profit and repairs and everything. I ended up making like 69,000 credits. Yeah, I end up doing like decent damage, as you see right there, and pretty much, it's got a really good game. I love the scout, and yeah, I recommend it to anyone. That should be the conclusion. Alright guys, so to recap as a whole, Type 62, pretty good tank, obviously, as it's a scout, has no armor. Pretty good gun, basically amazing active scout, and it just fits my playstyle perfectly. If you guys are very fond of scouts and you like a pretty good active scout with great capability of just getting side shots, reflanking around, just finishing off targets, stuff like that. I definitely recommend this tank. And as you guys know, it's only going to be available for a little bit. Obviously, as I'm going to upload this to YouTube, Reddit, all that stuff. Is probably just going to be a review as after this weekend is over. You're not going to be able to get it, but you guys should still watch this review if it ever comes out again. Hopefully it'll help, and yeah, hope you guys like this video and end up getting this tank and adding it to your garage with all these very nice tanks down here. So yeah, comment, rate, subscribe, and happy tanking.